A very good afternoon to one and all, ladies and gentlemen. This is Anant, a pre-sales technical consultant of Manage Engine's AD Solutions team. On behalf of Manage Engine and AD Solutions, I welcome you one and all for this weekly ADAudit Plus online workshop series. And so this is going to be the session number 1, and we're going to have multiple sessions for this workshop series. So the second session going to happen on 28th of September, which is the next Wednesday, and the forthcoming sessions will be informed to you by email. So we're going to have multiple sessions, and that is for sure. So again, I welcome you one and all for this workshop series, and I'm very happy and glad to see that there are so many attendees are very active, and I really happy to see the enthusiastic faces of each one of you, for this workshop series. So I thank you so much on behalf of Manage Engine and AD Solutions. Okay, so to give you a little background on what is AD Solutions. AD Solutions is a sub-brand of Manage Engine. Okay, so what is Manage Engine? Is a brand where we provide solution for all the challenges you're facing with IT infrastructure. So we have products right from monitoring the performance of the network till managing end-user software, and that's what Manage Engine is all about. On the other side, we have AD Solutions, and in AD Solutions, we focus towards the challenges you're facing towards the Active Directory and Exchange. So we have 5 different products available at AD Solutions to meet all the day-to-day challenges that you're facing. So I'm not going to focus more on the other products we have from AD suite of products, but for today we're going to talk about the auditing software that we have from AD Solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, before getting started, you could see that you could notice that there is a panel, a section where you can post your questions in the panel, in the webinar panel. So you could see it somewhere on the right corner. I'm not sure if it is exactly on the right corner, but in my screen it's on the it's right in the middle of the panel. Okay, so if you click the plus mark, you can see the window get expanded. Over there you can type the questions. So I have a team sitting behind who is going to assist me on all the questions that you're going to have or that you're going to ask during this webinar series. Okay, so please keep asking your questions. So please be attentive, because we're going to discuss about lots and lots of information, that too on the security aspects of your Active Directory. Okay, so that's what it's going to be. And for today's seminar, for today's webinar, we're going to focus on the configuration part of ADAudit Plus. So I'm not going to explain in-depth features about the ADAudit Plus. Most of you are already aware of what ADAudit Plus is, and for them I will be giving a little introduction about the ADAudit Plus, how it is functioning, and the configuration part. Of course, this workshop series is going to be focused towards the configuration of ADAudit Plus. I'm going to explain how effectively you can configure the ADAudit Plus in such a way that it will benefits your organization. So that's the whole session for today, and I'm going to explain the configuration that you needed to enable on the domain controllers policy, and what are the SACLs that requires for the event viewer to load the data, to catch the data, so that the ADAudit Plus can go and fetch it and can display that as reports. So that's going to be for today's agenda. And also I'm going to demonstrate how the changes can be tracked on real time. Okay, I'm going to show you my Active Directory uses in computers, and I'm going to show you by doing some management operation, and we can also see how that is going to get reflected in the ADAudit Plus. So that's the whole agenda for today's demonstration. Okay, so what is ADAudit Plus? ADAudit Plus is a secured web-based Active Directory auditing software. So when I say auditing software, it audits everything, every changes that's happening in your Active Directory. The best part of ADAudit Plus is it is not going to install any agents on the domain controller. It's completely a agentless software. Also, this tool will not make any changes on the Active Directory for the installation. Okay, so uh, uh, there are a few changes you have to do on your domain controllers. Yes, that's correct. But the tool will not make any changes without the permission of the administrator. So we know our limits. Okay, so only when you enable, or only when you click the button where it says enable or configure, only then the tool will make the necessary changes on your domain controllers. We are going to discuss about that lot on the today's session, so please be attentive. And what the tool is going to do, or is once you install the tool, I mean the ADAudit Plus, the tool will discover the domain controllers and every information that is needed for this application to function. Over there, at that point of time, the tool will not make any changes. Okay, the installation will be very smooth. You can install ADAudit Plus on any computer that is a part of the Windows domain. Okay, so you can install it on a Windows XP machine, you can put it on a Windows 7 or Windows 8, and even on Windows 2012 or 2. It doesn't matter where you're installing this ADAudit Plus. Okay, but ensure that computer is a part of your Windows domain. Okay, only then the tool can discover the required information. Also, the tool comes with an inbuilt PG-SQL database. Therefore, anything that you're doing in the ADAudit Plus, like creating a scheduled reports, or creating a custom alert, or doing any configuration in the software, that will only be internally controlled in the software. Okay, it is not going to make any changes on your Active Directory. So that's number two. Okay, the installation will not have any impact on your native Active Directory or on the server where you're installing the ADAudit Plus. Again, when I talk about server, not necessarily a server would, you have to put the ADAudit Plus on. You can install it on any machine that is a part of the Windows domain. I emphasize that again, okay? And the requirements for ADAudit Plus are going to be very simple. Now we do have a calculator available. There are enough documents available when you go to adauditplus.com, and the one document where it says the amount of space that you needed for the number of objects that you hold. Okay, so that can clearly tell you what's the minimal requirement. I mean, what's the amount of hard disk space you needed for the objects that you have on your Active Directory. And roughly, when I say if you have around 1,000 user objects, I would say 5 GB of hard disk space and 2 GB of RAM is more than sufficient for this application to function. So down the line, say like for 1 or 2 years, you're going to have the ADAudit Plus on the same computer that will not have any impact on the hard disk space. I'm going to show you why Okay, I'm going to tell you how to control the size of the disk from where you're installing the ADAudit Plus. Okay, how that could be controlled. So I'm going to explain that to you as well for the today's session. Okay, so like I said, once the tool is installed, the tool will get installed with the database, which is the PG SQL, and the tool comes with its own Tomcat server. Okay, so we use our own web browser. Therefore, you don't have to configure your IIS or any other third-party web server. Uh, you need to run on the same computer where ADAudit Plus is installed. No, they're all not required. The tool is completely independent. It has everything by itself. It is bundled with the database as well as the web server. Okay, so coming to the architecture, how the tool is going to get the data. Uh, there are three reports available in ADAudit Plus. Number one, Active Directory reports. So any changes that happens on the Active Directory, ADAudit Plus would get that as report. So that information is taken from the domain controllers. You can view the architecture right here. Okay, so this is ADAudit Plus. Okay, and what are all the various servers from where ADAudit Plus is going to get the data? Number one is domain controllers. So from the domain controllers, it will pull up the Active Directory details. I mean, changes that happen on your Active Directory. The second one is the member server. So that's the second reports we have in ADAudit Plus. So any changes that happens on the member server, right from the time a user logs on to that computer, I mean a member server, till what time the user has logged off from that computer, you will get all the information tracked by ADAudit Plus. Okay, that's the member server auditing. And again, the tool is not going to install any agents on the member server or on domain controller or even on the file servers. Okay, so that's the second report we have, member server auditing, which will give you the details about what are all the changes happen on the servers. So that's the second report we have. The third one is the most important one, which is the file server reports. So any changes that happen on the file server, the tool will be able to get that tracked and can get you as reports. Okay, so right from the time the user has authenticated to the to the share, and in case if the access got denied, the tool can even tell you that there was something went wrong. You are not able to access to the share. Is that because the user might not have the permission, or something went wrong on the share? The share might not have been enabled for some group of users. The tool can explain that reason. The tool can tell you why the access got denied, why the user was not able to read the file. Okay, so you can get that information. So that's the file server. So in all these computers, ADAudit Plus will collect the data from the security logs. Okay, the security logs is the primary source of ADAudit Plus from where the information will be taken. Now, until then, until the topic that I'm going to talk about the security logs, so you're just installing the software, you're configuring everything. So far, no changes. You don't need any changes to get, you don't have to do any changes on any of the servers. Okay, so now coming to the point, so talking about the sources from where the tool is going to collect the data, which is the security log. Unfortunately, or there are some reasons behind that why Microsoft is not allowing all the events to be logged on the event viewer. Okay, so that's the case here. Okay, your event viewer by default will not store all the information on your event viewer. And the reason behind that is it can get filled automatically. It can get filled very soon. and you might need a very high-end server to be installed to get all the information to get tracked. Therefore, Microsoft is not allowing all the information to be logged on the event viewer. Okay, in order to get the required information, not all the events will be read by the ADAudit Plus, but there are something, there are a few reports in the ADAudit Plus using which you can track the changes that happens on the organizational unit, or you can get the information on changes happen on the custom attributes, the attributes that you have extended in your schema, or changes happening on the group policies or something. Okay, so in order to track those information, you have to enable some policies on your domain controllers, and only then your event viewer will be able to log those information. And for the fact that ADAudit Plus is going to depend on your event viewer, it is essential that these policies are required to be enabled. And that's what we are going to see here on today's session. Okay, so now what will happen once the information is taken by the ADAudit Plus? Again, I'm not changing the slide. I'm still on the same slide. Okay, I'm just explaining the architecture of ADAudit Plus. So this is the computer where ADAudit Plus is installed, and this one will take the information from the event viewer of the domain controllers, member server, and the file server. So all these information will in turn be stored in the internal database of ADAudit Plus, from where it will get processed and will get displayed as readable reports. Okay, so these are all the reports that I've been talking about. We have the real-time Active Directory auditing. If anything goes wrong on the AD, the tool will immediately fetch the data and it'll show you as a report. And of course, we do have alerts. You can very well configure your own alerts in the ADAudit Plus based on your requirement. Okay, so that is something possible. And Windows Server monitoring, uh, it's about the changes that happen on the servers that you have, no matter what server it is, either a domain controller or any other servers that you have for Exchange or for a DNS. You can get all the changes that happens on that particular server. Okay, and we have compliance reports. Okay, so we have a separate topic, a separate session that we will be discussing about all the reports that falls under the compliance category. Okay, so that's IT compliance management. And the file integrity monitoring. Any folder or any files that got deleted on any of your server, the tool can get that information. Okay, so that's the file integrity monitoring. And the privileged user monitoring. You can very well track all the changes made by a specific user on the Active Directory. Okay, so that's the privileged user monitoring, which will be covered on today's workshop. All right, so these are all the real-time Active Directory reports available in the ADAudit Plus. You can see the reports like login history, till what time the user have logged on to the computer, and if the login got failed, if the login got denied for any reason, the tool will be able to show the information to you. Also, if the account got locked out, the tool can tell you what's the reason for the lockout and from which machine the account lockout has happened. Okay, so these are all the reports that we have under the login category. And we also have the GPO auditing. In the GPO, we have two different reports. The first one would be the basic GPO auditing. It can tell you on what are all the changes happen on the GPO. The second one is advanced GPO auditing, where the tool can tell you what specific attribute has got modified on a GPO. It can even tell you the previous value and the current value. Okay, so that's the advanced GPO auditing. So I'm not going to run through all the slides because we are going to focus towards the configuration part of the ADAudit Plus. Therefore, let me end the session real quick, and I'm going to show you the ADAudit Plus user interface. Okay. Okay, so what you're looking at here is the ADAudit Plus, and as I told you, it's completely a web-based software. And this one is the login screen. You can see that there is a predefined account available in ADAudit Plus where it says admin, ADMIN. And when you log in as admin, you'll have all the reports. You will get access to all the reports. You can configure the domain controllers. You can configure the member server, file server, etc. Okay, so that's the super account we have. It's an inbuilt account of ADAudit Plus. Let me quickly log in here. So what you're looking at here is the dashboard. Okay, so this is the dashboard, and the dashboard is 100% customizable. Okay, if you don't want any information to appear on the dashboard, you can have that removed, and you can use your own a pie chart or a graph to get set it up in the dashboard. Okay, so this dashboard is customizable. And these are all the three reports which I was telling you earlier. When I click the reports tab, you can see all the Active Directory auditing reports available under this tab. Okay, you can see the reports on users login, users log on, log off, account management, user management, group, computers, and so on. So these are all the reports taken on your domain controllers. So the second one is the file audit. Okay, for today's workshop, I have disabled the file servers that we have in I have configured in the test setup. Okay, so because we will not be looking at the file server auditing right now on today's workshop, but it will be discussed in the forthcoming workshop. Okay, but I'm just telling you, this is the second report we have in ADAudit Plus, and these reports are taken from the file servers. The third one is the server audit, which is directly taken from the member servers. You can see the first one where it says the file integrity monitoring. Then the server audit report can also give you the details about changes happen on that computer, which includes the process tracking, policy changes, system events, and so on. Of course, you can also get the local log on and log off. Okay, so coming to the configuration part, as soon as you install the ADAudit Plus, I'm afraid you will not be welcomed with this colorful dashboard. Probably you might get no reports available or no data available. Don't worry, you have not set it up correctly. Okay, so the first thing which I told you earlier, you need to configure the default domain controllers policy. Okay, for that, just go here where it's you click on this button where it says domain settings. Okay, and here you can configure the details about the domain controllers. Okay, so the first thing, as soon as you install the ADAudit Plus, the tool will discover the domain and the domain controllers that are associated to that domain. Okay, so you will be getting these information. However, by default, the information will not be fetched from any of these domain controllers. So you need to give a proper privilege to the ADAudit Plus. For that, you just go here and you click on the modify credentials. So you can see there is a checkbox where it says authentication and provide the credential right here. Okay, I know that for sure you're going to ask me, do you need or do you require to provide domain admin privilege? And my answer is no. You don't have to be a domain admin user. Okay, so we do have a documents available. Okay, so what are all the privileges that are needed for this account that you're going to set it up in the ADAudit Plus. So it's self-explanatory because I'm going to cover most of the topics on the Active Directory, on how to configure the default domain controllers and the SACL settings. So these are all pretty basic, but if you want me to explain this topic to you, please do comment me in the question section so I can explain that, explain this document on why, on what kind of credentials you needed to get configured in the authentication window. Okay, so as of now, I'm telling you, you don't have to be a domain admin user. Okay, so configure an account that has the minimum privileges. So how to find the minimum privileges? You have a document for that. Okay, so ensure that this user has the minimum privileges mentioned on the document that is mentioned on this screen. Okay, so that's the first configuration. Now, ADAudit Plus, the Active Directory auditing in the ADAudit Plus is pretty much the real time. Okay, it is not going to install any agents, but still the Active Directory auditing reports are pretty much the real time. Okay, so how it is going to work is the ADAudit Plus will maintain a listener on the computer where you're installing the software. So the purpose of that listener is to identify the newly added events on your event viewer. So as soon as the listener identifies a newly added event, that will be fetched by the listener and immediately it will be pushed to the database of the software. And it's the same story again. So once the data is captured in the database, it will get processed and will get displayed as reports. Okay, so that's the purpose of the listener. Therefore, you don't have to install any agents. The listener itself will take care of getting all the newly added events. Now, you might have a question about the network bandwidth. No, don't worry about that because the listener will only take the newly added events. I repeat, only the events that are newly added on the event viewer, that alone will be taken and not all the information available on the event viewer. Okay, so, and of course, if you think that your domain controllers are too far away from the computer where ADAudit Plus is installed, let's say you got domain controllers split it across the globe, you can set this up to a schedule. Okay, and you can set the time frame on when you want the ADAudit Plus to go and fetch the data from these domain controllers. Is it like once in every 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or 30 minutes? That is something you can configure it right here. So you have both the options. You got the real time and you have the scheduler mode. Okay, so you can also see the status where it says success in case of a schedule, and it says listening for events if you are setting it as the real time. Okay, and the most important thing that we're going to talk about today is the policy configuration. Okay, you can see the audit policies. So once you install the software, okay, and you will be finding an explanation or a question mark corresponding to this audit policy. Now in my test lab, I don't have enough time to explain everything. Therefore, I have already configured the required policies on my domain controllers. Therefore, I'm not getting the explanation or the question mark, but instead it only says configure, because there are a few policies I have not configured it on my file servers, which is intentionally I didn't do it because I want to show you how the screen is going to be once you install the ADAudit Plus. Okay, so when it says configure, you click on this one, the tool will automatically configure the required policies. Okay, if you don't want that to happen, you have documents available in ADAudit Plus, okay, where if you just go to the question mark where it says help, and here you could see the manual configuration that gives you a clear picture on what are all the policies that are required to be enabled. So I'm not going to divert this session by showing this help document. I'm going to take you to the Active Directory and show you how to configure these policies on the Active Directory. All right, so now I am going to configure the required policies on my domain controller. For that, I just need to log into it. Just give me a quick second. I'm going to work on this on a different monitor. Okay. All right. So what you're looking at here. Okay. So just give me a quick second here. I'm just going to show you a different screen. Okay. So now I am on a domain controller. Okay. So I'm just going to take you to the group policy management console where I can enable the default domain controllers policy. Okay, so there are two things you have to enable. Okay, for today's workshop I'm going to show you how to enable the default domain controllers policy. Number two, how to configure, how to enable the SACLs on the objects that you're gonna track. So the first thing is I'm going to enable the policies on the default domain controllers. For that, I'm just going to the group policy editor. I'm waiting for the screen to come up. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, in case if you're not able to see my screen, please update that in the question section, because I want every one of you to pay attention on this part. It's one of the most important thing that you have to know. So I am on the GPMC. Okay, I'm on the group policy editors window where I'm going to enable the default domain controllers policy. Okay, so I go here. Okay, so I go here and I just need to drill down to the group policy objects. And I'm going here where it says the default domain controllers policy. I think I'm getting some comments. Okay, I think I have a problem with the screen size. Sorry about that. Please comment me if this is something okay. All right. Thank you for your acknowledgements. Let me correct it further. Okay, almost there. Okay, let me take you to that screen. Okay, so I am on the group policy editor window. So I just right click on the default domain controllers policy where it says edit. Just go here and you can see I get the computer configuration and user configuration. It's going to be the computer configuration. So I drill down the policies and drill down, expand the window settings. All right, and you can see the security settings is right here. And this one is Windows 2012. Okay, so you might get a different screen if it is a Windows 2008 or 2003. It doesn't matter, uh, but you have documents available for that as well. Of course, the Windows 2012, we have not updated that screenshot in the help document. You can follow this instruction right here. If you need myself to send you an email with the exact screenshots, if you're using Windows 2012, yes, we can do that for you. Okay, all right. So I am on the security settings. Now I'm going to the local policies. It's right here, and the audit policy. Okay, so forget about the one that are on the very bottom. So the first four entries are crucial for ADAudit Plus. Audit account logon events, number one. That is for the login success and failure. Okay, so once this is enabled to success and failure, the tool can tell you this account has successfully authenticated to the workstation or to the domain, and or if the login is failed, the tool can tell you the reason for the failure if this policy settings is configured as success and failure. And the audit account management, if any administrator is authenticating, logging on to a domain controller, if they are making a changes, and if that change is success, the tool will tell you this is the user who made the change. And in case of a failure, the tool can also tell you this user has attempted to make some changes, and for the reason he doesn't have enough permission, it got failed. You can get that information as well. Okay, and the directory service, it is for GPO and OU auditing. Okay, the organizational unit. If any changes that happens on your group policy objects, or if you're renaming OU, you can get that information tracked if this is configured as success. And of course, the audit logon is for the local logon and log off. The local logon will be available once this is enabled, but the log off details will have to be taken from the workstation itself, for which you need this one to get enabled. Okay, so that's the configuration you have to do on the default domain controllers policy. Please let me know if the screen is visible or if there is any difficulty in looking at the screen. I think that's the maximum size that I can expand this to. So if you have any questions on this part, please do update that in the questions window so I can correct myself. Okay, so let me take you to the screen again. I am in the group policy management window. I expand this to my domains, and here I get the group policy objects, and I'm just expanding the default domain controllers policy. So just go to edit, and that will take you to the group policy management editor. From here, I'm just expanding the policies and expand the window settings. I'm sorry, it's not. Okay, sorry, it's the window settings. So let me expand this one and expand the audit policies. Sorry, the local policies, and it's under the audit policy. Okay, so it's not the account policies, it's the local policies. My bad. Okay, so that's where you need to configure. So make sure your audit account logon events is set as success and failure. Your audit account management is set as success and failure. Audit directory service access is success. Audit logon events is set as success and failure. Okay, so that's the changes, or that's how your default domain controllers policy has to be set to. All right, so now let me show you how to configure the SACLs on the required object. Okay. Now, when you enable the default domain controllers policy, you will be getting the basic reports. You'll be getting the login, log off, what are all the changes happen on the Active Directory, user changes, groups, group changes, contact object, and so on. You'll be getting the changes happening on all these objects. However, you will not be able to get the reports on the GPO, or if there is any changes happen on the tree level or permission changes, you will not be getting it. So those changes you will be getting only when you configure the SACLs on the Active Directory. Okay, so what are the reports you'll be getting when you configure the SACL? GPO, OU, extended attribute changes, and permission changes. So the permission changes, like when you change any permission on the OU level, or if you're giving a permission to a user on the OU level or revoking a permission, you can get that information tracked by the ADAudit Plus only when SACL is configured. Okay, so that's what we are going to see now, and I am on the Active Directory users and computers. Sorry, I'm on the domain controller. and I'm just going to open up the Active Directory users and computers real quick. Okay, I know that you will not be able to see the entire screen, but just give me a second. Let me open up the Active Directory users and computers, and I will resize the window. So let me close the other windows. They're open. Okay, I got my Active Directory users and computers open. It's right here. So let me upload the screen. Okay, so this is my Active Directory users and computers. Hope you all can see my screen. And before getting into it, I need to ensure that I have the advanced features enabled on the view. Okay, so I go here. Okay, this is something you have to be enabled. Only then you will get the security tab when you explore the domain details. Okay, so make sure this option is enabled. Okay, so let me right click on the domain, and I'm going to the properties. It's right here. Okay, so you can see the window, and in the window there is a tab where it says security. So if this option is not enabled, advanced features, you will not be getting the security tab. Okay, so that's the reason why you're enabling the advanced configuration under the view. So let me go and click the security tab. So here I am clicking the advanced button. Okay, so I just need to wait for some time. So it loads the existing permissions that are configured in my test domain. So I hope you all can see my screen. If not, please do comment in the questions section so I can resize the window to the best configuration. Okay, so you just need to click the auditing tab. Okay, so the auditing tab, and just click the add button. So now you're going to track the changes made by not by a specific user, not by a group of users. It's going to be for everyone. Okay, so so make sure the principal you're going to select for everyone. And of course, okay, it's not a constraint that you have to give everyone. If you want to track the changes made by specific user, and if you're not bothered about the logon events, you can go and select that specific group of users. Okay, you can select that group alone. But in reality, I don't think many companies would need that. Need a software to make to track the changes made by a group of users, because they might need to track the logon events as well. Okay, so preferably click select everyone. Okay, in the select principle. Now the applies to. So this matters here. Okay, so if you want to get the changes made on OU. Okay, so the applies to must be this object and all descendant objects. Okay, so this object and all descendant objects. So what the best thing you have to do, okay, you have to do is, so before selecting this one, or after selecting the specific entry right here, just drill down, or go to the bottom right here and just click the clear all. Okay, so the default settings will be vanished, and then enable the required permissions. Okay, so if you want to track all the changes happen on OU, there are a few things you need to enable. So let me deselect everything. Okay, and then let me enable the required permission. So you need the create organizational unit objects. So that's a little hectic. I know, I understand that. You have to uh, drill down, and you need to select the specific permission that you needed. So you also need modify permission. Okay. And so I do have a document for that. Okay, so what are all the permission that you needed if you want to track the changes happen on OU, GPO, user, group, computer, and contact. Okay, so I don't think it's appropriate to select to show you all the required entries here in this uh, workshop, because we are running out of time. So I would share that document to you maybe once we are done, so that you can select all the required permissions. But of course, I'm telling you, if you want me to do that on a separate workshop series, yes, I'm more than happy to do it. So we can have one more session on all the required permissions that you needed to get configured. Okay, so we can have another series, but please do post that in the question section so we can take it up to the next session. Okay, so now I am assuming that I have configured everything correct in my in the SACL. So let me close everything. Okay, so this is my Active Directory users and computers. Okay, now I'm just going to add a user to a group. That's a bad example. I mean, I selected a wrong OU. Okay, so now, okay, so what I'm doing is, okay, I'm selecting this user and I'm going to add this user. Okay, let me remove the existing group membership of this user. Okay, so let me right click on it, and I'm going to properties, and I go to the member of tab. Okay, you can see that this user is member of all these groups. So what I'm doing right now, I'm just going to remove this user from some selected groups. All right. Okay. Now you got to give me a few seconds, because I have to run a few commands here in the ADAudit Plus to get the information to get populated. Of course, that is something I don't want you to do it, because Active Directory auditing in the ADAudit Plus is pretty much the real time. So just give me a quick second here. I'm going to show that information, show the changes, what I did in my Active Directory, okay, on the ADAudit Plus. All right. So here we go. Right. Do you see this? The very first entry, okay? The enterprise admin. Now this member was removed by this user where it says Anand. That's my name, okay? So you can see that I have logged into this computer on this domain controller as the person called Anand. You see this on the upper right hand side, okay? So that's the user who was just logged into it, and I made the change. It got reflected in the ADAudit Plus. Okay, so that's the real-time reports we have in ADAudit Plus. Now, I'm going to quickly show you how to get this information as an email alert. For that, I go to the Alerts tab. Maybe I can show you another section in the Admin tab. Okay, the first thing that you have to configure in the ADAudit Plus to get an email alert, you need to configure the email server. Okay, for that you just go to the Admin tab, ADMIN, and right here on the left hand side where it says the mail server, you click this one and configure your email server. So provide the mail server and the port number, and you can make sure you can send a test email and ensure that you're getting emails from the ADAudit Plus. Let me type in an email address real quick. All right, it says the mail status as success. So let me check my email client. I think I got an email. Yes, I have. All right, so I got the test email. I'm not going to show my email client because it has all some other confidential data are there. So okay, so that's the email client. Sorry, that's the mail server configuration. Now I'm going to the alerts tab. Okay, and here I click the email notification, and what you can do is you can create your own alert profile in the software, which means not every changes. Okay, so not every changes that happens on the Active Directory will be sent as an email alert. You can configure the alerts window based on your requirement. It can be based on the threshold, it can be based on the users, it can be based on the groups or whatever. Okay, you can very well customize it. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just going to create an alert profile. So this profile is going to send me an email alert if anything goes wrong on my security groups. Okay, all right, so you can set the severity, whether it is an attention, treble, or critical, and you have something called as report profiles in ADAudit Plus, but that's something that is something we can discuss it in the upcoming workshop series. But you can see that there are predefined report profiles are available. These are all the predefined report profiles, and of course you can very well create your own report profile within the ADAudit Plus, and you can get the alerts out of it. So in my case, I'm just going to click the group modification and just select the modified security group, and or whatever the changes you want to see, you can enable the entries accordingly. Okay, all right, and the alert message is configurable. If you have this as format underscore message, you'll be getting the default information sent by the ADAudit Plus. You will be getting the complete data, but still if you want to add your own macros, like if you want to include the username or from which computer it happened, you can very well add macros to it. Okay, so you can very well customize the message that the tool is going to send you. So here under the advanced configuration, you can see the entries where it says threshold based alerts. So not all the information will be sent as an email alert. You can very well set the threshold based on the events and the occurring time. So it's not like once the logon failure has happened, the tool will be sending an email alert. If 5 login fails has happened within 1 minute time, then there is something goes wrong. Just go and check what that is. For that, you need to get an email alert. Not all the changes happening on the group will be sent as an email alert. But if it is a security group, then that's something that you need to get notified. So create an alert profile based on that particular group. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. So threshold-based alert, user-based alert, business hours, and the filter. Okay. So you can see the group scope, or you can select the SAM account name, group type. If it is a group member, you can see all the information that you needed, that you want the tool to get filtered. Okay, so based on these filters, if the changes made on the domain controller falls under these filter, it will be sent as an alert. Okay, so we have all the options available in the ADAudit Plus. Okay, so that's the email alert configuration. Okay. So I think we are running out of time, ladies and gentlemen. It's very sad that I was able to uh, explain only a few things in this ocean of ADAudit Plus, but don't worry at all. We're gonna have multiple workshop series. I mean workshop sessions that will get conducted for the series. So please be attentive. Please keep checking your email. We're gonna send you the details about the forthcoming workshop via email, so you can participate on the other in the next upcoming workshop series. Okay, so so what we have discussed so far, we have seen on how to configure the report profiles, how to configure the domain controller's policy, how to configure the SACLs on your domain controller, and we have seen how to create an alert. Though we have not seen the alert profile, but I have just explained how to create an alert. Okay, so based on your requirement. So that's for today's session, gentlemen. It's very sad that we're running out of time, but we're gonna cover a lot more topics in the upcoming versions. I will request you all to please send your feedback. This is the very first session. So if you want anything to be changed, if you want myself to be more more impressive, or whatever you feel, just send that as a feedback so that we can improve that in the next upcoming workshop series. And I'm going to give you my email address real quick, so that in case of any assistance, you can write me an email. Okay, so that's my email address. Okay, so you can see anant@manageengine.com. So that's my email address. So we can write me an email at any point of time for any assistance on the ADAudit Plus, and I'm at your service. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a pleasure, experience with me on a crowd of more than 100. I'm very excited. So I look forward to meet you all in the next session that's going to happen on 28th of this month. That is the next Wednesday. Thank you so much all, and you all have a great evening. Bye-bye.